Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to our Camnet Midday News. My name is Amazing Katamanda with the headlines. Former Defense Minister Godfrey William Mwamba granted 300,000 bail. LUSAKA residents to be compelled to get a permit before digging a picture train.
Team, the trajectory of the business looks very positive, and it looks like we'll be able to launch the
She has so much data.
Mom.
Yes, Stevie.
It says here, global warming and climate change is caused by the pollution from careless activities of human beings.
Wow!
Son, do you know I can turn my phone into a TV remote?
How's that possible?
It's so easy. Check this out.
Be smart, be fast with mega data from Zamtel. Get your 15 GB mobile data for only 100 kwacha, 30 GB mobile data for only 200 kwacha, and your 70 GB LTE data bundle with free Netflix, YouTube, Facebook, and WhatsApp. Visit our Facebook page, website, or service centers countrywide for more information. Zamtel, your digital lifestyle partner.
Thank you for staying with us, and now the news in detail. LUSAKA Magistrate Stanford Ngubala has granted Patriotic Front member Godfrey Mwamba 300,000 bail in his own recognizance with 2 working sureties in alleged corruption cases he is facing before the LUSAKA court. This is in a matter in which Mr. Mwamba is facing 24 counts, among them being in possession of property suspected to be process of crime and conflict of interest involving millions of kwacha. Meanwhile, his accused Adopas Mubanga is facing 3 counts of being in possession of property believed to be process of crime.
After spending a night behind the freezing cells of LUSAKA, Patriotic Front member Godfrey Mwamba, who claims not to be shaken by his prosecution, says nothing will change him because he still remains the unshaken GBM.
Well, I feel nothing actually has changed because I knew what was happening or what is still happening. And nothing will change me. I'll always be GBM. That one, no one will steal it away from me.
Mr. Mwamba was yesterday, the 7th of June 2022, arrested by a joint investigation team and charged with 24 counts of being in possession of property reasonably suspected to be process of crime and conflict of interest involving millions of kwachas and thousands of dollars respectively. While his co-accused Adafas Mwanga is said to have been in possession of over 1 million kwacha property also believed to be corruptly gained.
5 counts is their count. That's what they think in their heads. But maybe it's only 1 count, mind you. At the end of the day, we are very good lawyers. I think they will be able to produce the accounts to probably with 0. Yeah. So that is not worrying me at all. Well, like any other detainee. They kept me like a detainee, but I'm used to it. I think this is not the first time. As you all know that, I think even through PF, I went through the same, even with the Hakainde Hichilema, who is now the president. I went through it with him. I've been detained several times, so this is nothing strange to me.
Are you shaken?
Who? Since when? Since when can I be shaken? Since when can I be shaken? Have you ever seen me shaken?
Mr. Mwamba, who appeared before the magistrate court Wednesday morning, was granted 300,000 kwacha bail in his own recognizance, together with his co-accused, by Magistrate Stanford Ngubala. Speaking to the media shortly after his release, Mr. Mwamba says despite his prosecution, he cannot be shaken, further alleging that this comes as a result of his decision to leave the United Party for National Development and rejoin the Patriotic Front Party.
Talking about a case, let me tell you, which happened when I was Minister of Defense. And they have no facts that I interfered in the procurement of that contract. They have no defense whatsoever, and I don't happen to appear anywhere. But you see, because of what I did, just because I resigned from UPND, you see, just because of my resignation, leaving them out, leaving UPND, that is the problem that I have made. But I can tell you that I'm still strong. In fact, I'm getting stronger and stronger by the day. You see, I've been quiet for too long. I think this is about time that I should now start mobilizing my party PF. Yes.
Among the 24 counts that Mr. Mwamba is facing before court, it is alleged that between the 27th of December 2012 and the 31st of March 2013, whilst he was defense minister, he failed to disclose interest in writing relating to a contract for supply and delivery of general-purpose shelter tents for the Zambia Army. The two accused persons are expected to appear before court on the 14th of June 2022 for their possible plea. Miriam Kaimba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Heidi Mwangankumbula Ward 12 Councillor in Lusaka's Chibolya compound, Aaron Mwanza says the Lusaka City Council is working on formulating a bylaw that will require that anyone who wants to put up a picture train should get a permit from the council. He says the move is aimed at promoting underground water from contaminating.
According to Zambia's latest national population and housing census data, less than 30% of citizens have access to flushing toilets, meaning that the rest of the population across the country depend on pit latrines and other modes such as open defecation. The use of pit latrines is widespread in unplanned settlements, which form about 70% of the urban population according to the World Bank. The problem of pit latrines has also brought with it underground water pollution, especially that most of these communities also depend on wells as the major source of water. This, however, poses as a threat to sustainable development goal number 6, which aims to achieve clean water and sanitation for all by 2030. Hari Mwangankumbula Ward 12 Councillor in Lusaka's Kanyama constituency, Mr. Aaron Mwanza, says as a permanent solution to the problem which has been ongoing for a long time, the Lusaka City Council is working on bylaws to curtail this problem.
We are talking on the issues of fecal sludge management and coming up with a bylaw that will enforce the fecal sludge management. What do you mean? The fecal sludge management procedure has not been managed well, especially here in Lusaka. That's why we have been experiencing diarrheal diseases. So this bylaw, if we push it, it will help Lusaka City Council and the Lusaka Sanitation Company to have the powers. Anyone who would want to construct a pit latrine, they should seek authority from Lusaka City Council. So that pit latrine is well built to avoid groundwater contamination.
Meanwhile, Lusaka Water Supply and Sanitation Company Public Relations Officer Mr. Nshamba Muzungu says the water utility company has successfully completed the first project of installing improved pit latrines in Lusaka's George, Chawama, and Kanyama compounds.
Our policy direction now is to roll out this program citywide. We'll continue promoting on-site sanitation in other areas as well of Lusaka. But obviously, the target of 5,500 in these areas that I've mentioned is not adequate. There are a lot more people who need to come on board so that they can have these improved toilets.
It is hoped that such initiatives will help in reducing underground water pollution and solve the problem of waterborne diseases. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Some traders in the central business district of Lusaka are appealing to the Lusaka City Council to restation garbage bins in the city in order to bring sanity. Speaking with Camnet News, the traders are concerned that the city continues to be identified by piles of uncollected garbage cans.
For years, waste management is among the major environmental issues that Zambia has been grappling with, and the city of Lusaka is not spared. Lusaka generates about 1 million tons of waste annually, 2,700 tons per day, but only half of this is taken to the designated dump sites. Just recently, Zambia joined the world in celebrating Environmental Day that falls on the 5th of June every year, and waste management is still something people need to reflect on, as the Lusaka Central Business District is choking with waste. In an interview with Camnet News, a trader identified as Tito says they are not pleased with the tendency of Lusaka City Council when it comes to garbage collection.
Let's encourage the government to be more especially for bean as a bean yakuru yaja bafaka batifakira ko bean then ingangale ko is than so guy in town but then siboneka mu as you can see muno munani kali mu street chishta businesses yambi tubena ngo example ashita masamusa na nguni vitumbua so itonona mungati ngapolisi maningi town otherwise
other traders have reminded the local authority to be proactive in their business.
Please to papa tabese batu afueko pa town center 2 weeks inshallah. Tabesa mukukusa. So apatra pangira potu samusa nefya kufalo kusonga fya fululuka vyonse vyefisa mukima paredingi. Tumanaka tukwatika mani mbina fweba apata tupianga please to papa ta. Walo lesheni kodi mbi kutawa kwata kweli yonse mwewa fyashi. Mwewa bako kuntanji please apa fyachita ove fishara turelo mbako bese walole shepu apa at least lelo bayole fishara fitwa papa.
The Lusaka City Council has always made assurances to address the problem, but at the moment it seems to be beyond the means of the local authority. Garbage in the CBD accumulates very fast owing to the number of people and businesses. And if no lasting solution is found, it will be impossible to combat environmental degradation. The question still remains, is the waste management under the LCC doing its level best to end this issue once and for all? Cherish Sibote for Camnet News, Lusaka.
The Banks Association of Zambia has dispelled assertions that banks in Zambia do not want to lend money to small and medium enterprises. Speaking in an exclusive interview with Camnet News, Association Chief Executive Officer Ronald Mwanza says banks have been lending money to businesses that meet the minimum criteria to borrow money and demonstrate the capacity to pay back.
As Zambia looks to become an export-dependent country by growing a manufacturing base, most small and medium enterprises still have no capacity to export. Some businesses have since accused financial institutions of failing to lend money to small and medium enterprises in order for them to expand their businesses. This was confirmed by Minister of Commerce, Trade and Industry Chipo Kamulenga when he featured on the Camnet Breakfast Show.
When you go to these countries, you want to get a loan. They'll sit with you, run you with a project proposal, run you with a business plan, and they'll tell you this business you're doing. When you invest today, you're going to start, you break even after 3 months. After the 4th month, you start making profit. Then in the 5th month, you start deducting you. But in Zambia, before they even give you a loan, there's a negative in your bank. They start deducting you from the same loan they've given you before. You invest it. Those are things we want to change. Facilities of loans must be easy for SMEs and for the Zambian people. Once our Zambian people have access to money, then we're going to say, okay, now this business, we are doing it. I think now we can compete favorably or we can set it up ourselves.
But Bankers Association of Zambia Chief Executive Officer Leonard Mwanza has defended the stance by the banks not to lend money just to any business based on the premise that banks have a responsibility to protect the resources of their clients.
Banks' core business is basically to give loans, actually. They make most of their money by lending money, which they get from the public. So they've got that fiduciary responsibility entrusted to them by their customers. They collect deposits. So they have a duty to ensure that those deposits are kept in a responsible manner. They've got a duty that they lend responsibly. Maybe that's where the difference comes in. It's about lending responsibly to make sure that they protect money which doesn't really belong to them. Because you don't just want to give money for the sake of it, you want to give money where there's an assurance that this money will be repaid.
Mr. Mwanza also says business owners should first invest their own capital in the business, then later look to financial institutions for support to expand their business, which already has a customer base. He says not all startup businesses are guaranteed to grow and says banks cannot risk to invest resources in businesses that do not meet the maximum criteria to borrow.
So don't go to the bank when you are just starting business. And in fact, if we are talking to that constituent of businesses, it is wrong for them, first of all, to think about the first stop is the bank, because the bank will not listen to them. The bank is not the right call for them to seek funding unless they have built a story, a verifiable story, They've got a relationship that has been created with a funder, which can also be verified. They've got records which banks would want to cite.
While financial accessibility still remains a challenge in Zambia, the government can strike a balance to see how much startup businesses can be supported with grants. Prudence Jota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
That item brings us to the end of our Camnet news, but before we go, let's take a look at the stories that made the headlines. Former Defense Minister Godfrey Mwamba granted 300,000 bail. LUSAKA residents to be compelled to get a permit before digging picture trains. That's what we had for you on our midday news. My name is Amazing Katabanda. Good afternoon.